To go from violence and chaos that is so abrupt and beyond understanding to all of a sudden, where am I? But I am enveloped and I feel this tremendous love. It is so deep and so profound. It's not male or female. And I was aware of that as a child. It was just this deep, deep spiritual love. And everything was a frequency. Everything was a resonance. There are colors. We are limited by our mind and our physical body of what our understanding is and really what our capabilities are. We are confined by our physical body and our mind, which on the other side we are not. We are in our origin, which is our spirit. When you go to the other side, there is this feeling of it's endless. It is this most extraordinary, endless place of love and resonance and music and vibration and so much more that you can't understand. Well, what happened was it was a moment of chaos and other people there, and I left my body. I died and went to the other side. And going through the tunnel, it was very fast. It's this dark, kind of dark tunnel. It has some lights in it. It's a vortex, so it's moving in a circular motion. And I just got swept into it very easily. I think it was that I was so disoriented and I didn't know what was going on. This was before I was 7 years old, so I was limited in my understanding of the world, self, language, everything. And when I left the tunnel, it was like so fast. It was like, and it was dark mainly, but there were lights. And as I moved through this tunnel, the lights became brighter and more accented, and then I was on the other side. And oh, I get so emotional still because to go from violence and chaos that is so abrupt and beyond understanding to all of a sudden, where am I? But I am enveloped and I feel this tremendous love. It is so deep and so profound. It's not male or female. And I was aware of that as a child. And that it wasn't my mother, it wasn't my father, it wasn't my sister or my brother. It was just this deep, deep spiritual love. It felt so safe. And yeah, I mean, it was the most amazing experience. We all get what's called a life review. And what that is we look at, with guidance, with wisdom, with God, our education. We see how we've reacted, and it's explained to us why we reacted in that way. And it's usually because of a thought form we've acquired that really doesn't work for us anymore. And so our behavior can be inappropriate or hurtful at times for people. And what you are taught is it isn't that someone really wanted to be that way, but it is their persona or their neurological functioning or something about their DNA or sometimes karma. That puts us in these situations. And for me, I was looking at this violence that I didn't understand, but I also, being out of body, and because we are all wisdom and we are consciousness, I understood, even though as a child I didn't have the language or the understanding. I did during the life review because I wasn't confined to the age of being before I was 7 years old. So I had my wisdom. And so I was able to understand what the life review was teaching me was that everything, the only truth is love. I was taken to all these different areas that are on the other side that, again, my journey was all frequency. I was taken to a place where it's a choir. It's like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of out-of-body spirit that are singing tones that all harmonize. I heard tones that I had never, ever heard, and harmonies. And what I got, see, the journey doesn't end with when you come back to your body. And one thing I have found is that in different places of the world, I hear these choirs of angels. You know, they always say silence isn't empty, it is filled with answers and it is filled with wisdom. You know, on the other side, it's just endless, all the opportunities that are over there. But there was this wall that went on for eternity, and it was like bricks, little squares that made this wall. And you could pull this wall out and it would expand. And it was as if it was every single moment going on simultaneously in the world. So, I mean, it was an endless wall. And where I was taken to was to look at things that I could relate to and to just watch. Some of my experience on the other side was to just watch. And then I had someone explain things to me about, you know, why people do what they do. Being shown, being taken to other places of frequency and resonance. I was asked, do you want to stay here or do you want to go back? And in that moment, I thought of my dog and my mother and I missed them. And I said that, and like a shot, bam, I was back. I was just that quick. So often I have clients call me and say, I've been praying and nothing's happening and I feel abandoned by God. And the thing is, no, we are not. We are so never abandoned by what gives us life and what gives us love. Never. I get so emotional because it seems that in life now, so many people are struggling. And they struggle because what happens is they want to have something given to them, or a memory, or an adventure that they'll have once they let go of their way their mind has decided it should come to them. If we just give up and say, God, help me, lead me, guide me, we are. So often what happens is that I see people aren't able or capable of receiving love. Just like I'm sure you've known friends, or it maybe even happened to you a long time ago, where someone would compliment you and you downplay it. Oh no, it's not really. No, it's yeah, I got my hair cut. Yeah, it's fine. It's like that's just like a particle of the drop of the ocean of why we reject things, and underneath that are a myriad of reasons, whether we don't feel worthy or we don't want to compete, or we feel if we're going to achieve something we're going to make someone else unhappy or take it away from them, so we downplay ourselves. And that is the biggest, I think, influence of the other side that I got. I kind of went off topic on my NDE, but my NDE has carried through my life, uh, from the time I my first, and I've had two NDEs, but this was my first one, was so significant because it every step of my life has been reflective of what has come to me from that other side. Yeah, it it was like, what? That's kind of how I felt at first, because it was like, what happened? And then all of a sudden I had people show up. They had kind of a form of a human body, but they were not a human body. And I could hear with telepathic, clear audience. Um, or technique of being in trance with a mediumship, all those are way of hearing high frequency sound or frequency sound. And it was a way of continuing my education. I had very shortly after that experience, I had this experience with my mother. We were using the Ouija board, and all of a sudden the lights got really dark. The lights just dimmed. And all of a sudden, it was almost like we felt this, in the symphony, those big, huge drums, when they start going boo, and you hear the drum and the resonance goes out. It was like I heard that. And all of a sudden, there was this massive, dark blob of energy at the side of the table between my mother and me, and the Ouija board. And my mother went, "What just happened?" And I said, "Well, the lights dimmed. A spirit came in. It's big and really black, and it's standing in between. It's standing right next to us." And she went, "We're going to put this away now, and we're never going to use it again." And we didn't. And she said a prayer, and I said, okay, and it went away. But I didn't know that at the time that my mother could read energy. And so she was really my teacher that started to teach me how to get in touch with environmental energy. We'd be driving and we'd be at a stop sign, and she'd go, and of course she was driving, I was a child, and she'd go, "What do you feel?" There was most of the time when she would ask me this, it was all like violent situations. But I remember distinctly one time where I said, I am in a passenger seat, and there's a man driving, a man behind me, and he's just put something around my neck and he's killing me. And she said, absolutely right. She saw it too. And she said, "And what happens then?" And I said, "They take a right and they go that way, because we're at the stoplight." And she said, "Yes." And they're going to the lake that's in there where they dump bodies. And later I found that they did dump bodies in that place. And so she was like, "So you're never to go there. You won't be safe there. Don't go there." And so discernment is this. Before my NDE, when I was little, I would feel energy without knowing what it was, but I would go towards it. And after my NDE, what I learned was there's a resonance that's about love. There's a resonance that's about kindness, that's about joy, and there's some about harm and oppression and death and murder. And so for me, working with energy, I didn't understand this for a long time, but I do now, is that since I do work with energy, one of my lessons was learning how to discern. how to decide in which direction to go depending on the energy I was feeling. Because I came back um, so connected to this love that I mean, it just wow. Um, it never left me. And so my pursuit has always been about understanding and consciousness. The more we understand, the more we can achieve. We always have someone with us. And part of our journey in the spiritual world, if we, commit to it and dedicate ourselves to it, is learning to hear and talk to our spiritual guidance. And we can get so much amazing information through that. And so the guidance is one thing I do. I caution everyone that's going to be channeling or hearing out of body spirit is to really discern, to know what frequencies you want to live with and what frequencies you want to bring in to have a discussion with. Because I've done a lot of environmental clearing and lifting and investigations of houses and areas that are considered haunted, and they are. There's a lot of spirit world life that is in the fourth and dimension, and can have wisdom and can talk to us like they have a lot of knowledge, and then they'll twist it because they are not who they say they are. And so when you're going to get information from your higher self, your guidance, be very specific. And I bring in the light, I bring in this as my belief system, and I ask to be protected in the love of consciousness, and that I will only accept the energy, the wisdom, the information, the healing energy from this source, and it's the source that you believe in. Like for me, I will not accept any energy that is not from my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, in the name of God Almighty, creator of everything. In that context is also the wisdom of Buddha and the wisdom of Bahalu. Just to add one thing, because people ask me this a lot, is that our pets do go to heaven. People are like, well, I see my dog again. Absolutely, you will. And you can also call upon them, and they can come to you in spirit too, because they exist, they just and that we don't die. Our life is continual. Reincarnation is so real. And what we are is we go on in our journey in a new way on the other side. We transform. And so I think that is the other question I get asked the most. Is there the fear of death? And there's no fear. There's no guilt. There's no punishment. There's none of that. And there's no death. There's just, we continue in a different way. It's just like on the other side, there's no evil. There is absolutely no evil on the other side, because the other side is the one truth, which is love. And through the spiritual understanding, what I believe is that the evil does not exist. The only truth is love. And there is nothing that can survive, that can squash that love and survive above it. It just won't happen, because love is the one truth.